Thanks for tuning in to the Medevac podcast, powered by the Robert Irvine Foundation, whose mission is to support and strengthen the physical and mental well-being of our nation's heroes and their families. I'm one of your hosts, David Reid.
And I'm your other host, Christian Meyers. Thank you very much for joining us today on the Medevac podcast. If you're new here, which I'm sure some of you might be, there's a price for the show. You have to share it with a friend or family member if you get something out of today's episode. And you might out of today's episode with our guest.
Oh my God, it's going to be the best one you guys have. It's going to crank up.
And
Of
our
all time.
long-time friend. Thanks for joining us today.
Dan Horgan. You got to get your name in there first.
Got to give it Dan Horgan.
Dan Horgan. Write that
Dan
down.
Horgan,
Yeah.
whose background is both military and police.
Right.
And business.
And business.
He's
And
just done
business.
everything.
Right. Little black rifle got sprinkled in there.
Yeah. A little bit,
Okay.
a little bit of black rifle.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, let's dive in to the beginning of your story, or at least where we're going to start, and that's the military and how you were inspired to join.
Yep.
Why you went into the branch you did, and what did you do while you were in?
Yeah. No. Yeah, I like that actually. You said what inspired me, because to me that's one of my good stories. Graduated high school, went away to college, came back because of my girlfriend. We broke up like 2 months later.
Mhm.
It was horrible. I was going to a community college in Maryland, but the Maryland Guard has A-10s.
Okay.
So A-10s are flying overhead, and I'm sitting there and I'm seeing these A-10s fly overhead. Bam, I don't know. Just walked into the Air Force recruiter, seeing the A-10s.
Yeah.
Wanted to be a PJ,
Okay.
right? That was the thing. So I have glasses now, but I had like PRK surgery done in 2001.
Hmm.
This is 1990, by the way.
Okay.
So the Desert Storm's
So-
brewing.
19 or 18?
Yeah, that's
So-
what. Yeah, that's right.
The Desert
yeah.
Storm.
So it's 90, and so I joined, and I wanted to be PJ. Came in an open contract. It was pretty funny, and you're down at basic training. We just said we weren't talking about basic training,
That's
but
all right.
it's a funny story though, because they ask you, "Hey, what do you want to do?" The guys come in, and I raised my hand, and they were like, "Sit down, Four Eyes." Dream shot.
Oh,
Oh,
just
damn.
that
Just
that
that
fast.
I saw
Wow.
the E on an eye chart, so they could tell with my BCGs that like this guy isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not even, because 2100.
He's
I think
blind
is-
as a bat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, sit down. Like, not even going to have this conversation.
Like-
So that didn't happen. So I did not become a PJ. Became security police.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a cop. But while I was going through the training down at Lackland, here, San Antonio, down at Lackland, the Presidential Honor Guard came down, did a recruiting tour.
Nice.
And I'm from Baltimore.
Mm.
So they're stationed in D.C. because of, Arlington.
Sure.
So yeah, raised my hand and I said, yes, I would love to do that. And 5'10" is the cutoff. Like, you have to be 5'10" or taller.
Oh.
And
They have height.
they are.
Must
So
be this tall to ride.
the really tall guys do the colors, with the flags.
Okay. Yeah.
Some big buff guys are carrying
Oh,
the caskets.
That makes sense.
Little guys like me are doing the fire party, the 21 gun salute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
That makes sense.
So yeah. So I got accepted to it. So I finished out my security police training for it, and then went to DC, and so spent 2 years at Bowling Air Force Base in DC doing all the
Nice.
funerals at Arlington, which is tough. And I think
I gotta imagine that
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
emotionally tough as well.
Yeah.
it is. You have like mothers, people crying,
Yeah.
right? And you see those flags being handed off, and even though I was farther back, you can still hear it and see it. Yeah, and you do.
Yeah.
Right, you really do. My grandfather passed away during my 2 years there, and I actually handed off the flag to my grandmother.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
given the whole speech thing, but
Wow.
was stone cold.
Yeah.
And so I think, like, now, even for me, funerals, yeah,
You just revert to that.
It is, and I can even tell a story of my deployment in 2011.
Mhm.
We had guys die on patrols that I was on, and I'm
Yeah.
in the talk, and I'm
Mhm.
listening to them trying to get, because they did the 21 gun salute. They did funerals in
Yeah.
in country.
In
yeah.
country.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm listening to him, and it was a shit show.
Mhm.
And so I raised my hand. I'm like, hey, all right. So this is 2011, and I'm like, hey, like back in the early 90s, like I did good stuff. I'm like, I still remember it. And they're like,
Yeah.
what? And so I ran through the whole firing party routine, like in the top,
Okay.
doing the the whole call, and they were like, yes. So they gave me 7 guys, and we actually had blanks right in country, so we had
Okay.
blanks to do it. Yeah, and so they gave me some time to practice with them, and I sat there and practiced with the guys, and sure enough, we did 2.
Okay.
Which was it's an honor, right?
Yes.
The emotional, it's an honor to do it.
Yeah.
on the, and it's never funny, but I say on the funny side is like you're sitting there. I'm in Air Force, so I'm a tech sergeant at that point. So I'm E6.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm in charge of the Army firing party for this, right? And so the sergeant major, when he gets done, like he's shaking down our hands.
Sure.
But I'm at the end, and he sees, and he's like, I have an Air Force guy in charge of my Army firing party. For this.
Yeah.
But I actually, both of the ones that we did, I was on the patrols with the guys too. So like,
Oh, wow.
I was familiar with it. So
That's a great honor, though, to be able to do that for guys you were on patrol with. So.
man, it really,
Yeah.
I mean, even if I wasn't, I would have raised my hand and said, "Hey,
Sure.
like, let me help
Yeah.
with this." But it did make a difference that I was there on those two. Yeah. So IEDs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's a rough one. Yeah.
It's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. So anyway, so honor guard, and then they were like, "You did so well here. You're presidential. You get to pick where your next assignment is." I'm like, "Sweet."
That's a good deal.
Minot, North Dakota, or Wyoming. I should have picked Wyoming. Now knowing that Wyoming's awesome.
You get to pick wherever you want.
Yeah,
And those
there
are the
was two
two
choices.
Wyoming or Montana.
Yeah, North Dakota.
Or North Dakota.
North Dakota. Yeah, Minot, North Dakota.
Pick
If I said
wherever
it.
you want out of these
Wow.
two.
But now knowing how cool Wyoming is, I probably
Yeah.
should have picked Wyoming.
Oh, yeah.
I picked Minot, North Dakota, because it was closer to the East Coast.
Okay.
I was still connected back to Baltimore. So
Yeah. Still wanted
Just
to be
think
able to
about
go
the drive,
home.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I spent about another 2 years then up in Minot. Yeah, guarding the missile field. So driving around when the alarms go off on the
Yeah.
It's like 30 miles, 40 miles from the Canadian border or something like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just in the cold.
Horrible.
They call it-
Horrible.
I think it's South Canada, actually, not
Yeah.
North Dakota. Yeah.
So that was your reward.
was that
It was guarding the missile
The
bases
missiles,
in
right, yeah.
the, in the
But it's-
super cold.
It is. But here you are. I'm an E4. I get up there as an E4, and I still have I had a top secret clearance for presidential support.
Okay.
So here I am an E4, TS level clearance, and I think I had like 2 commendations,
Oh,
like
yeah.
2 achievements, like in most like it took some time. And
Oh, yeah. So you're well ahead of your peers.
Yeah,
at
I
this
was well
point.
ahead. Yeah, so it was fun, but just Minot was horrible. My daughter was born up there in '95, but then I cross trained. So I was like, hey, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I cross trained in the AWACS.
Okay.
So I ended up being a scope dope, a surveillance technician on AWACS. So
Okay.
sitting on the back of the big AWACS plane, looking at the radar and IFF dots.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
It's
I mean, I got to go to Saudi Arabia, right? So I spent
it's not bad.
and that was '98. So we had Operation Southern Watch.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So I got to do some of that. But now 4 years into it, I'm like, okay, career's growing, right? I want to do something else. The drill instructors come up
Mhm.
to write TIs for the Air Force, and to do a call, and that's a whole another tryout.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
it's,
and that's intense.
it's its own thing.
Yeah. Get accepted.
Mm.
Sweet.
Man.
Now, but your functional manager has to let you go.
You like torture, huh?
They were like chronic critical for AWACS. And so they were like, no, we can't let you go.
Can't do it.
But I was so mad. So I had 9.5 years in, and I said, I'll show you. And I got out.
Mm.
Oh, really?
Yep. So I
Well,
got out. Yeah.
Before you get there, what made you want to be a drill instructor?
Yeah. It goes deep. So I just got divorced and then just met my current wife. We were dating though.
Okay.
And she's an Okie.
Mhm.
Right. So I just had the whole plan. I was like, I'll go do that. And back then, I don't know if it's true, they used to get their teaching certificate.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, I'll be a teacher.
Like
right?
credentials?
Yeah. And I'll get out.
Interesting.
Right. And we could stay in Texas. We're close to Oklahoma. I was trying to figure this all out.
Yeah, map
Yeah.
it out.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's a hard job, man.
So it's always based on being back close to home.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Every decision in the military. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Got
how,
to be
yeah.
close to home. It does. I mean, that's a big factor. One of the reasons why I went to Washington State because
Yeah.
my parents lived in California. But I should have done Savannah, Georgia.
Well, because and I'll tell me if that's what you thought. For me, I always, and I think I still do a little bit. It's what's your support system.
Yeah.
Like, can I call my mom or my dad or whoever to come help watch the kids, or
Yeah.
like, what do I like?
An emergency,
Right.
anything pops up.
Yeah. So they didn't let me go, and I was like, I'll show them. I'll
Mhm.
get out and be in the reserves.
Oh God.
Yeah, I didn't know about Total Force, right? Total Force. This was 2000. That was 2000.
Oh, yeah.
So I got out, 2000. So I'm in the reserves. I went back to it's now or then, however you look at security forces.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So security police changed name, security forces.
Mhm.
So I was doing that at Andrews Air Force Base.
Okay. So you were close to home.
Yep. So I was close to home. Well,
and this is before you got. This was your last assignment before you decided to get out.
no. So I got Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Tinker Air Force Base. Yep.
Well, I just mean like security forces.
Yep.
Where did that line up?
So security police and security forces, same AFSC, MOS.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I got out from AWACS, they're like, you held this. You can.
Oh, I got you.
You can go do this.
Go back to your
Gotcha.
in the
job.
reserves. Yeah, with no training. Like,
Gotcha.
just go back.
So that's what you did in the reserves.
Yep.
Okay.
But then this little thing, 9/11 happened.
Mm-hmm.
Heard about it. Yeah.
Yep, heard about that. Yeah. So I got called back up and was orders for another year. So 13 months I was on active duty orders back at Andrews.
Mm-hmm.
I laugh because just being a TACP now, you look back at everything else was so like uncool. But I ended up becoming, I went to Raven school.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So I'm Raven 889. So 2002. I mean, because we were just checking cars for like IDs and bombs, doing a lot of that. Because Andrews, right? It's Andrews Air Force Base. But I was like, if we're not going to Afghanistan, I'm not fighting in the war. Like, I want to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to just sit around.
Right. And they're like, hey, we have this thing. So we had the C-141s, cargo planes, right, for the old guys. So they were flying all the missions down to South America. So the guys sent me to Raven School. Went to Raven School in February of 2002.
And can you explain what a Raven is for?
Yeah.
For everyone?
So Ravens fly with the aircraft, and I do air quotes, which in an austere environment. So it's not really secure. So when they land, like there's some kind of security, just so it's not just the poor,
Makes sense.
pilot, co-pilot, and
Yeah.
load master up there. So we had two, right? So you're a little 2-man team, and you're armed up. You had a sat phone you would call back to, and so we did all the missions to South America.
Nice.
But back in the day, like I did, like I've gone like to Colombia, so I've been like to Bogota and Cartagena, and back in the day, like the FARC was still kidnapping everybody.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, it was legit. Like we would land and go into town and all that kind of stuff, and Peru, Bolivia, Chile. But none of those places were, again, but that's why we were there, because the Ravens will do assessments as well. So like we got into Chile, and you're like this is secure. Like this is great.
Looks all right.
Yeah,
to
you
me.
call back and you give them their whole little assessment that you have to give and everything, and they're like, great, you can get off the plane, lock it up and go with the crew. Yeah, like so I ran like a 6K race in Chile. Had some Chilean pesos on me, and
Chilean peso. Yeah.
Sounds like hard
Went to
work.
Lake Titicaca.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
That sounds-
highest navigable lake.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is
Sounds-
true name, real name.
Yeah.
Sounds like a fun name.
Did that.
Lake name.
Just for the time of the show. So I, trust me, I mean, I did 24 years. So I did that. 9/11 happened, but then that's where kind of we talked about police. So
Yeah.
I'm at Andrews, but I'm working in the reserve. So everyone's a Virginia State Trooper, Jersey State Trooper. One of my good partners was a DC cop. He was on the DC SWAT. And so I got really now like the true law enforcement bug.
Yeah.
So I applied for Baltimore PD while I was on my orders and would do my testing, like, because you had like 3 days on, 2 days off. So sometimes it fell in the week. So I was able to do all my testing. Sure enough, right when my orders were ending, Baltimore had their academy. So I got accepted to Baltimore City. Yeah.
Lined
So,
up really well. Yeah.
Yeah. January of 03.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah. January of 03. So I did from November of 01 to January of 03.
Okay.
Went back on active orders and then go to the academy. So, but now I'm in the academy. I didn't drill, right? So if anyone knows about the Guard, so I have 3 bad years. So when I say I did like 24, I retired with like 21.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because those 6 months in the academy.
Yeah. You're missing your drill weekends.
I didn't drill, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but so I was doing that and then playing around, and now we fast forward. So now it's 07. And I've been in Baltimore now for about 4 years at that point. So I was already out of patrol when I was doing some specialized like narcotic unit stuff, and I like still in shape, right? I mean, I'm in my 30s, and so I was like, I got to do something more. And, and the security forces wasn't still hitting it, and Raven School. I mean, not that it was tough, but it still like it was. Anyway, there was a bug, right?
Yeah. You wanted more.
Yeah. And so I just happened to be like what I ever do, searching around for the next newest thing. And a unit up in Pennsylvania, Fort Indian Town Gap, just started, a TACP unit.
Okay.
And I was like, yes. So we have to try out. So I went and tried out, got accepted. I was the 6th guy into the unit. So you talk about like brand new unit, like
Wow, you
I'm
stood
number
it up.
6. Yeah. Right. But phenomenal unit. So it's the 148th ASOS out at Fort Indian Town Gap. One of the best. Yeah. And was there, for 3 years with those guys. Why'd you leave kind of story? It's even Baltimore. So now it's 2010. like I was talking earlier, I bought heroin a dozen times legally as a cop.
Yeah.
But I was doing a drug deal. And we were flipping a guy, and Murphy's Law. The guy gets in the car and tries to rob us, but ends up racking a 380 and putting the 380 to the back of my head.
Oh shit.
Right. Doesn't pull the trigger. We get him, blah, blah, blah. Right. My wife at that point, like I've had numerous stuff. She's like, you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then now looking back on it, right. Cause again, that's young, super no EQ Dan.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just like, what? And which is fine. Right. So I was like, all right. And we pack it up, but I was still a TACP. So we pack it up, and I end up getting a full-time gig at the 146 ASOS, which is the Oklahoma, TACP unit.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City. Yep.
That's active duty unit.
Nope. It's
Reserve?
guard. Yep.
Guard unit?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
okay.
guard at a Will Rogers
Okay.
airport. Yeah. And they were still almost semi-new. They've had some full-time staff, but they had a little bit of a turnover. So I had the opportunity to be full-time with them. And, and I make a joke, like I got back at my wife, and that's not that I didn't, but we literally deployed then the year later. So I left Baltimore in 2010 to get away from almost dying to
Danger.
deployed it as a JTAC in 11.
Yeah, I'm sure she was much
Yeah.
more comfortable.
You're like, I gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find it where I can.
So I was with those guys till about 2015. I made Master Sergeant, so I was E7.
Okay.
But still was looking for a little bit more. So I ended up becoming I was the interim first sergeant
Mhm.
for the 137th, the fighter wing out of Tulsa. They're
Okay.
F-16s. But I was doing that for about 2 or 3 months, and they were trying to find me a first sergeant school date.
Mhm.
And I was like, no, I'm going to retire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just wanted to call it at that point.
Well, man, like I still was, I was cuffing my sleeves and boots, blouse to
Yeah.
the lowest possible level, right?
Yeah.
And I couldn't wear my beret anymore, so I had to wear a hat and still ranger roll in the hat. And as a first sergeant, like I'm just breaking every rule that I'm supposed to be enforcing.
Not
Yeah.
a good example, I guess.
No.
Yeah.
I look good though. My pockets were sewn down, right? My uniform, like I look
shit
good.
hot.
Yeah.
There's a way of looking good while still not hitting the standards.
So 100%. I did not detract from safety. And that was one of my always things.
Yeah.
Even when I was in country, like I had a little bit of a battle with the colonel for the expeditionary unit because and I would tell you real quick. So he's like, if I can't trust you to do the little things, how do I trust you to do the big things? And I was like, no. Let me reverse it on you, sir. You can trust me to do the big things because I don't give a damn about the little things. Like if my boots are not bloused, it's because my mind's about dropping a bomb and say, right? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I don't care about same thing with your sleeves are cuffed in, but it looks good. It doesn't detract from your safety. Like,
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
still
care.
professional.
Yeah. So the colonel that I worked for, I was just like, sir, like I'm gonna retire. Like I'm well over 20.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, right? Because I was a good first sergeant. And he was like, no.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, like I'm a hindrance.
You should just say the sole reason is you made me blouse my boots. Thank you.
Right. And then I retired. So I retired technically from the Oklahoma Air Guard,
Okay.
2016. But I have enough active duty time. If anyone's if you're getting familiar with the Guard, it's like I'll get an active duty retirement.
Yeah.
I'll collect it when I'm 58.
Yeah. You have to wait a little bit longer.
Yep. So you can take back your deployment time, and so 58, which is not too far away.
Mhm.
That's not too bad.
No.
Yeah. Did you deploy with the 146th and the 148th or?
No. So the 148th ended up going to, and I'll tell that story very honestly. They went to Iraq.
Mhm.
But at that point, I was on SWAT. And
Okay.
so I stayed on SWAT for a year in Baltimore.
Mhm.
But they just kind of used us in a way that I really was like, I'll go back to my drug unit.
Yeah.
So I only stayed on the team for about a year, but I still was doing a lot of that. So I didn't go to I didn't go to Iraq with the 148th.
Mhm.
And then when the 146 was deploying, that's what I said we were deploying. We were going to RC East.
Okay.
And we did our spin up like you do, right? All your pre-deployment stuff. We get a call, and active duty calls us, and they're like, because they know, right? I mean, everything's interchangeable. So they're like, hey, we know you're ready. Guys are ready to go. Do you have one JTAC who will go down to RC South? Because one of the guys just broke his ankle.
Okay. So Helmand area or?
So it ended up being me. I don't know if I took the call. Not that I was being selfish, but so I don't know. I saw you maybe look at my bracelet. So Brad Smith was my friend that
Okay.
JTAC got killed a year later.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So Brad and I were in TACP school together. He was like my brother.
Okay.
I took him out.
I wasn't looking at you.
No. I
was
took Brad. I took Brad out like 30 days before he left on his deployment, like in Baltimore when he was flying out of BWI.
Okay.
So as soon as they said RC South, I was like, yes. And I didn't know where I was going to go, but I was like, yes. So it wound up being with 10th Mountain.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were, I mean, you guys are familiar. Yeah. So we were in between Hellman and Kandahar on Highway 1. So it used to be Fob Wilson, but now it was Fob Basab.
Fob Basab, yeah.
So that's where I was.
Okay.
Which is, I literally then, so talking about with Brad, I literally was in Brad's tent.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So even we talk about that, like in winter, and then where I was operating with the 10th Mountain guys was like exact areas. And so.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Man. So what year was that? You
11.
were out there? You were out there in 11.
Yeah, in 11.
A 6-month tour? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Got to drop some bombs?
I did like only one. I'm trying to even like think back, and there's a lot of strafing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's fun too.
A lot of shows of force.
Okay.
Like, but a lot of strafing with the 10s, right? The 10.
I mean, that's one of the best parts about being a TACP, right? Is you get to go find the enemy and then sick an A10 on them.
Yeah. Well, not even that. I tell you, this thing with the TACP career field, it's just so not interchangeable, but like you're such the Swiss Army knife in a sense. Like, so I really, again, chip on my shoulder because of Brad. I wanted to go out and do stuff. I would even go down. So like I would go out with the scout sniper platoon and we would go up in the backside of the mountain, and those guys were firing with the javelins.
Okay.
Direct fire. Yeah. Off of dudes. And I would just have ISR, or I would have like, an Apache team coming in, just doing shows of force for them and stuff while we were doing things. And just even to that level. Yeah.
So they're like the funnest things to fire.
Yeah.
They just like make no sense.
The job.
You just sit there and it's like, boom.
Well, hold on. To make sure I'm even telling it right. Because there's a javelin's similar to something else, isn't it?
I mean, it's the large shoulder mounted.
It's got is it guided with my wire?
No, that's the older version.
Because we had a wire, because a wire snapped on one of their shots, and we were like,
that's an old. It's the old version, but same concept.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So we were shooting those. Yeah, they were
pretty dope.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
Yeah,
it was fun. It was a good time. I mean, but
it's just ridiculously impractical to carry. You got to throw one in the back of a
Chinooks. Dropping them off at night on the backside.
Oh, really? Yeah. Our army over here, like, we had to carry ours.
No. You'd only have those mounted. Yeah.
Oh, really?
You'd only carry those with Humvees.
The Chinooks would drop them off usually at night on the backside and everything. And that's what I'm saying, even going down, like working to the scout sniper little platoon level with these guys was super cool. It was funny. I say funny, I'm kind of remembering stories, is they couldn't change. What was the ATACs? Remember the ATACs design that came out?
Yeah.
They could wear them, but they couldn't wear them on the fob. So when we left the fob, they would change. So these guys were changing into those ATAC uniforms.
So silly. The silly rules that you have.
Bunch of shenanigans all the time.
I got in trouble for something similar on my first deployment. I traded remember the first multicam combat tops they had?
Yeah.
With the tall necks, and they stunk horribly.
Well, the army issue just
yeah. So that's what they were issuing us too on my first deployment in 13.
Did you cut it?
No. The Brits next door, they loved them. They were like, "Can I have one of these?" I'm like, "Dude, you could take all of them if you give me yours."
Right?
Because they have these really soft quarter zips, but it's the British version of the OCP. So it's slightly different, but I just wore that around base. Routinely, the Marine commanders or Marine officers would be like, "What the fuck are you wearing?"
I got that. So anyone watching, listening, when they end up talking about this, it's funny too. Like the guard, we had like $500,000 to outfit like 10 of us. Right? It was crazy. We all had surefire suppressors.
Yeah, it's just whatever you want.
So here I am with 10th Mountain, conventional unit.
Yeah.
Right? And I have a surefire on.
Yeah.
And they're like, who the fuck is this Navy SEAL walking around with this suppressor on?
Yeah.
Which is true. And it even did make sense for daytime missions. Nighttime missions, for sure, when I had it, right? If I had to hit a dog or something like that, sure, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But daytime missions, 100%. I took it off because no one else had it. So firefight.
They're gonna know where you're
that's
at.
why
I'm pew-pewing and everyone else.
Definitely keep it on just for cool points.
Well, no, because
10-inch barrel, suppressor. You'd be like, "Who? Air Force patch? Who is this man?" The
JTAC patch. Yeah. Well, that's the thing though. That's conventional. When you work in the conventional,
yeah,
right. And you would just they had and then we didn't have our own, and I don't remember his name, which is great because then I can't mention it here, but got into a firefight, 60 round, misfires on the tube, right? The 11 Charlie found, yeah. And of course it hits closest to me. Long story short, but again, I was going to a lot of these patrols and the captain was like, all right, you're done. So TACP didn't have their own officers then. So this guy was an AWACer.
Okay.
Which I thought we had bonded because I had been AWACS too, right? And you're sitting here, no. So he orders me, he's like, you're a force multiplier, right? You can't be going out, on all these. And I'm like, can't I? Like,
Wait,
right? Like,
It's kind of the purpose,
well, the
right?
talk. Well, so you can do a lot. I mean, the guys now will tell you like all the stuff they have. It's crazy. So you can do a lot from the talk. And so I am taking a picture of me wrapped in bubble wrap. Like we have bubble wrap for me in the mail and stuff. And I took a picture of me wrapped in bubble wrap. And I was like, I guess this is what happens when JTAC goes to war, right? Like dangerous shit happens.
Yeah.
But again, I couldn't, right? Brad got killed a year earlier, literally just, in the same area. So I understand it too, but in the same token, like I had a huge chip on my shoulder to go out there and be like, let's.
We spent all the years training. You spent all the time getting ready to get there. And when you show up, you're too special to be used.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Well, they also knew that Brad was
Yeah.
huge to me.
Yeah.
And so like, and again, I don't feel like I was really doing anything outside of that any other Joe or anyone else wasn't doing.
Sure,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, so like I wasn't kicking in doors.
Yeah,
Like I
you're-
wasn't the first guy. Right.
Yeah.
And
Relatively safe when it comes down.
yeah, well, and then we would go on patrols, but that's the whole, right. Again, it's like,
It's the purpose.
yeah.
We don't go to war to not, do war.
Yeah. Be like training your whole life to be a UFC fighter and never getting in the octagon.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm great in practice. Kick your ass in
Yeah.
training.
Had a great time. Yeah. But I'll tell you, my cop days though, that really, I mean, it's takes me back because I'd already had done a lot of stuff and people ask about that. And it just comes to the point of like the level like of crazy stuff I did in Baltimore to like, just like build you up, like walking through a dark alley by yourself, only with your own Glock and no vest on, right? To do some stuff. Yeah.
So
Walking on a patrol. Yeah. With 13 other dudes. I'm like,
Let's talk about that. Before we dive into what you did, in the police force, let's talk about what the major differences that you noticed right away. For example, right? There's a lot more rules as a police officer,
right.
right? And there's a lot more, you would not accept that in the military.
Right.
Let's say we're guarding a gate or a vehicle checkpoint and you have someone mouth off to you.
Right.
Like as a cop, your hands are kind of tied, right?
Now, then no. So, I mean, we laugh, but I mean, it's
true. It is true.
It's very true. So I did, so 2003 to 2010,
Okay. Yeah.
right? So, all of the Freddie Grays, God, I mean, there was all the stuff that kind of really came, body cameras, like body cameras weren't a thing.
Yeah.
Like not a thing at all.
Which I 100% agree with, body cameras for the safety of the officer and the citizen.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Right. Well, and and I'm a huge fan, like there's dirty cops.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Sure. As a matter of fact.
Now you do some dumb stuff.
Yeah,
Right? I mean,
yeah.
I'll always use the word hypothetically of some of the stuff I did, but nothing nothing I did was jail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Gray area.
Gray area. Well, like
Like
one of
Denzel
them-
Washington in Training Day.
Yeah, none of that. You would talk to people. You would talk to people with your gun out. Like back in the day in Baltimore, like as even a young patrol kid, you jump out of your car, and like one of them, people in the corner, they're loitering, right?
Okay.
But the philosophy, from the mayor down, was if you clear them off the corner, then that will prevent maybe a drive-by shooting, right? Because that's what could happen, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And it's all over Baltimore. So you ride up, and you're one car deep.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no two partners. You're in a car by yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to go do this. Oh yeah, you'd get out and you'd be like, I need both of you off the corner, right? I mean, you would just.
It's like a laser
nowadays-
pointer,
Yeah. Nowadays, you draw your weapon and you're writing a use of force, right?
Yeah.
From a lot of the stuff I hear from friends. Back then, no, it was you would.
Yeah, and it's such a different scene now. Like you're fine. And I don't want to dive too deep into the political nature of it, but California is a great example of of what happens when you take away a police force.
Yeah.
And then the government goes, "Oh, we shouldn't have done that."
Yeah.
The specifically, San Francisco and Sacramento, as well as LA.
Well, are you talking? So that's what I just did my first trip out to California,
Yeah.
and I saw like where they passed a bill where like if you shoplift or done something, all these list of things, it's like okay, like
it's a cite and release on most of them.
Yeah.
And I think it's
And including some surprising ones that were on that list when I read it.
yeah.
it was a big list, yeah.
And-
Right?
but
Yeah.
it was like attempted murder. Like there was like
that was Illinois. Yeah,
Illinois
that
had
was the
that, okay.
Illinois, Chicago
Yeah.
one. But
Yeah.
with California, it's like shoplifting. I think it's $1,000 or $1,500 now.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to pursue. You're not allowed.
Yeah.
Even in the store, if you try to apprehend them, you'll get in
Yeah.
trouble.
And I think one was
apprehending
even like a
them.
restaurant. Like if you walk out on your bill, like it's
Like
they can't.
1,000 or 1,500.
Yeah, they can't
bucks,
touch
something
you
like
or do
that,
anything.
yeah.
You're like, so I'm not paying for my
so
dinner.
as a
ever.
police officer, what is the problem with this? Like, why are we continuing to give and give and give
Yep.
to the minorities and the people who are breaking the law?
Yeah, I would.
What minority voices is what I think.
No,
you mean.
I would tell you. No, seriously, no. I think in
Yeah,
I'll give you my
minority
opinion,
voices.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My opinion.
Not like that.
Disclaimer, guys, not like that. What I meant is a smaller population. The definition of what minority means, nothing to do with racial.
Not like
Yeah.
that.
No, I think to me, from what I saw, what I think it was is just it's the jail population.
Mm.
And I don't know on the political side or any of really that. I mean, not that even matters, but it's the money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because again, we go back to clearing the corner, right?
Yeah.
I'm waving at you guys, clear the corner. I come back 10 minutes later. You don't move. And this was back in the old day. You don't leave. Part of the law was I had to give you time to leave, right? So if I come back in 10 or 15 minutes and you're still there, I will lock you up for loitering.
Okay.
And so we used the paddy wagons, right? So the van, and you'd put 10 dudes in the back of that, and that'd send you to jail. And on a Friday night, you're not getting out till Monday.
Yeah, Monday
Right,
afternoon.
just for loitering. But it's that money, right?
Yeah.
It's just, and it's the overcrowding.
privatized
Right, you just-
prisons.
So it's
Privatized prisons,
the
which is
privatized prisons. There's no slots left, so we might as well just let people do what they want.
I don't agree with it, but that's I think some of it I would imagine.
Well, it's three different. I think it comes from three different perspectives, right? It comes from the perspective of the police, the perspective of the civilians, and I group in police with government, and then the privatized prisons on top of that.
Yep.
So the people want less law enforcement interaction, but law enforcement and government say, well, we need law enforcement interaction to deter crime.
Right.
And privatized prisons are being subsidized by the government, have to stay at a 90% capacity rate. So there's not enough room for the less violent crimes. So those get kicked back on the street. So it's just this revolving circle back and forth that you can't actually solve the problems or some of the problems.
And it's always has to do with money.
Mhm. Yes.
And
The police force, because growing a
police force, even the prison
money.
industry is a huge cash cow.
Yeah. There's a prison industrial complex, and we've talked about it a couple of times.
Yeah.
That's privately owned.
Yeah, like Sing Sing up in New York. It's a private prison where it's a manufacturing prison. You have to manufacture whatever they're making, manufacture couches or tables or whatever it is
Really?
for 10 to 15 cents an hour.
Yep.
If you refuse to manufacture, you get time added onto your sentence.
So if you
it's
don't work,
it's slave labor.
that's slave labor.
Yeah.
Hunger Games.
But at the same
That's just-
time, so there's back and forth.
Yeah.
We need people to stop committing crimes, so we need to arrest them, but we're letting other people off the hook.
But you also need,
It's-
that's what I was saying about police, is you need more police officers. That's the other, where a problem comes to. Your population grows, and as your population grows,
Yeah.
I need, so Baltimore, 8th largest police department in the country. So like about 3,500 cops.
No, it's massive,
Well, I think
yeah.
3,500 cops is what they're authorized. They're probably not operating on that though.
Yeah,
but
probably
each
not.
cop has a salary. That salary money comes from the city,
Yeah.
the city's budget, right?
And then-
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some state stuff too, blah blah blah. But if you, and inflation goes up. I mean, I think when 2010 money to 2023 money is different.
Oh,
So what they're paying
substantially.
guys,
Yeah. I mean, most cops in California in the main areas are starting between 100 and 120.
Sure, yeah.
That's starting salary, and then they're
Right.
all doing overtime.
Right.
So I mean, you're
No, that's how I.
200 grand per.
That's
cop.
how I survived. Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
was doing a ton of overtime, but
Yeah.
that's how you make what everyone else is making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
It's a vicious
work you to death.
vicious cycle.
You did. You would
Yeah.
do. Yeah, you would do overtime from IDs at a bar
Mm.
to normal work overtime.
Yeah.
Like you're getting off your 8-10 hour shift, and they're like, "Hey, we're short.
Yeah.
You want to do an extra shift?" You're like, "Yeah, another 8 hours. Yeah, let's do it."
Yeah, why
So
not?
now I just got a guy, right? 16 hours burning. Just
time and a half, double
Yeah.
time.
Ugh.
Yeah.
and then,
is
but that's where you get into the danger. Now you're a single
that's-
car.
Yeah.
That's it. That's
Oh, yeah.
that's what exactly what I was
Oh,
going
yeah.
to say too. Is that you're burning out your troopers.
Yep.
And that's when poor decisions happen. That's when
100%,
they get
yeah.
irritable.
Yep.
That's when they pull the gun out.
Yeah.
You know, they're drained.
Yeah.
They're not eating right as well.
Yeah.
That's
Right,
a
yeah.
huge thing.
Oh God, yeah.
Sitting in that car all day is not good.
But when
Oh,
you
no,
when
and
do you
you-
have an opportunity to exercise or cook when you're working 16-hour days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and then you have to go back, and when you're going to leave, oh shit, I have paperwork to do now.
Yeah.
There's another
Yeah.
hour and a half.
Oh, yeah.
Like, now I have 5 hours to sleep and get back to work.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
There's no opportunity for rest. There's
No,
no
and you're-
opportunity
and
for
you're-
recovery.
And again, I see like Baltimore, and I said a slave to the radio. You're like as a patrol guy,
Yeah.
woman, you're answering calls.
Yeah.
But that's where it goes to. I'm answering a shoplifting call.
Mhm.
Where am I answering a shooting
Yeah.
call? Right.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of cops like in Baltimore, like in the city, don't run traffic.
Yeah.
Like I would, again,
Good.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. We say that though. I would like just to keep time going, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Just I didn't want to just sit in my car like
That's the biggest
Yeah.
budget, though, is they spend all the money on the undercover Corvette so that they can
Yeah,
bust
right?
the average
I
citizen.
wish. I
Let's
wish.
talk
No.
about that. Let's be educational for our guests here. Talk about how to get out of a speeding ticket.
No, you don't. You either have, I'll tell you, or with me. So my buddy Stan. So Stan's a Marsoc dude, lost his leg below the left leg below the knee. We are. It's when I was working up in Oklahoma, and when I'm up there, and he's got the Purple Heart tag, and
Yeah.
we were driving, and he got a ticket, and then I'm driving, and we get stopped, and he's like, "Well, I got a ticket," and I'm like, "Well, watch this," and I had my police certification card,
Yeah,
kind
nice.
of where my ID, and I showed it, and like he
Yeah.
must have saw it.
Mhm.
Before I could even say it, because I probably my next was say something.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, you used to be a cop?" Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. Warning. He's like, "I am a Purple Heart amputee."
Yeah, and
I got
that
a
happened to
ticket,
me
and
as
he
well.
goes,
A couple
And,
weeks
and,
ago.
and I was like, I even said to the guy, I was like, "Hey man, I'm on your team." Like, but now I'm not, not moving forward. Like that's the problem. Is like there's so much hate out there, for these guys who are trying to just protect the country, right?
Yeah, right.
And in my opinion, like you're sitting there on the corner, looking at expired registration, and the average domestic violence response time is over 2 hours.
So,
Yeah.
no, 100%.
true.
And so, trust me, that is one of my things, especially when like on the highways, because other like
Yeah.
sheriffs and stuff, and you're just like, man, go look for real crime.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's go fight crime.
Yeah.
Like I got my car stolen a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And it took 4 hours for the police to show up. And I was like, it's probably because you were too busy giving registration tickets out.
Yeah. Well, that's the first thing. Don't ever say stuff like that to the cop when they walk.
No,
up.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
We got pulled over. I was actually I took that trip out to California with my wife and in-laws and everything. And my wife's driving. We get pulled over, and the guy comes up. I knew it too. I was like, oh, he's gonna come up from that side because the highway's too busy, and he does.
I just talk shit in the shower, man.
And-
You know what I mean?
we did.
Not
But
the
he
cop.
just gave us a warning. I don't know. You just gotta like. I'm surprised you got a ticket, huh? What were you doing? Were you speeding?
I was speeding.
How bad?
Yeah, like 15 over. But he also waited till he was sitting by the sign. So as soon as he hit it, he got me for that.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude,
Right.
I don't see the sign and just slam on the brakes.
Yeah,
Does
right, right.
anyone do that?
No, yeah. I mean, it's.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but in Baltimore, I would do it too. Again, this is the city. A lot of these, so what I would tell you what I do. I would park in an alley, and I could see it was near the courthouse, and I could see a stop sign here, and so I could see that people would run it all day long, right? I mean, just run it, right?
Yeah.
So
And I would get them, but I
you were just
wasn't-
waiting for them to be a dick.
Well, or have a warrant.
Okay.
So you got to remember,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
grabbing your
Okay.
license.
Yeah.
And again, it's Baltimore
Yeah.
City. I'm near the courthouse.
And I get that. I get it if you're fishing.
Someone has no license.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Or-
if you're a dick,
Yeah.
if you're fishing,
Yeah.
get it. If you're a dick, I totally get it.
No.
Yeah.
But if
I
you're
think-
good
yeah.
and you're just like, oh man,
Well, I think I did 3 DUIs, and they were like, "We're gonna put you on the DUI like task force," and I was just like,
No, please.
For like
No.
3, like I was like up there with like trying to, and I was just like, no. But again, they were random. I was watching a stop sign. A guy runs it right,
makes
pull over,
sense.
and he's drunk as fuck.
What's the best one-liner you've heard to? Where are we in a rush to? Why are we in a rush?
I didn't. I haven't. My best though is I arrested one guy though 3 times for drunk driving. Same guy,
Yeah,
Brian-
same dude.
Brian Brown. I guess I don't know if you have to bleep that out or not. I don't know where Brian is these
Sounds
days
like a
in
made-up
life.
name anyway.
Made up name. Hypothetically, why? That's what I told you. Hypothetically, his name is
Pseudonym. Yeah.
Brian Brown. 3 separate times. But this guy was always smiling. He was a great drunk, younger kid though, right? Like early 20s.
Perfect age to have 3
The
DUIs.
3rd time, arrested him, right? See him like weeks later, I'm driving and he's on the corner with a bottle. And I stop and I'm like, Brian, like, what are you doing? I really don't care too much, but I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And he's like, I got to go down the jail. He's like, they gave me like 6 months. And so he was literally like only a couple blocks from the jail.
He's getting
Was
drunk.
drinking, yeah. Before he would just walk down and turn
Oh,
himself
yeah.
in, yeah, and go. But
Man,
just smiling though. I
Man,
loved him.
knew him by first name.
Oh yeah, I never forget him. And again, this is 2010. Like that name
Yeah.
sticks with me,
Hmm.
just because his smile, man. He was so nice.
He's so nice about
He's
it.
so nice.
Like, I'm sorry. Go ahead and throw the cuffs on. I'll go.
I wasn't a jerk cop. I wasn't heavy-handed. Like
Yeah.
there's guys. I mean,
Nah, and
Yeah.
that's because you're military too. Is like
Yeah.
it's the same ceremony thing. Is not you're not lording power over them. You're
Right.
just there to do your job,
Yeah.
and you're not there for bullshit.
oh man. So yeah. I mean, again, race. I'm not that I would get into race, but I would talk about it, right? I used to get like, you're a Nazi, you racist, and all this kind of stuff.
Just because you wore the uniform.
Because I was white,
Mm.
and Baltimore's, I don't know what the percentage is, but is 80% African American,
Mhm,
right?
okay.
Black, and I'm white, and I would be like, I literally, and I remember days I would sit on some of these porches. I mean, these are vacant neighborhoods. If people are familiar with Baltimore,
Yeah.
like, and sit on the steps, the stoops, and eat like my Subway sandwich, and be like in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like I remember buying my first pair of shoes at Shoe City and stuff because of my partners. I mean, and I was like, look, man, I'm paid to enforce crime. Like this was some of the stuff I would say, especially when I got into narcotics. You're a racist. You're only arresting me because I'm black. And I was like, no, let's go find a white guy. Like right now selling drugs. Like I will let you go and I will take him.
Yeah.
Let's do it. And I can't where I worked. Like I was boundaries in the city. And so
Yeah.
I concentrated on the east side of the city.
Okay.
And so I was like, I'd get guys say that to me too. Like we'd get in foot chases and you eventually catch them. I used to be fast and you catch them and I thought you were going to rob me. I thought you were a stick up boy. And you're like, oh, you thought I was a stick up boy. So I was like, let's go back. We could pull reports from 10 years ago. And I guarantee you no suspect was a skinny white Caucasian man. 100%. 100% not. I was like, and had my badge jingling around my neck as I'm chasing you, yelling police.
Yeah.
Like, but it would be like, and you're like, no, man, like there's just certain things.
I was just going for a workout.
Yeah, but I was paid, right?
It's
I was
morning run.
paid. Like you got squares. Like I was paid to operate inside this boundary.
Yeah.
Like I had, like that's what I am paid to do.
Yeah.
And it,
I never really, yeah, was paid to do that. And and that's, but for me, but that's the thing, I love Baltimore. Like my wife would definitely, she would tell you, like she cringes because I tell so many, well, she at that point would heard the stories over and over, lived, through them. But every date night we would drive through the Eastern District just because I would love driving through off work and just spotting, stuff out,
Yeah.
at work. Actually, my kids in November last year, we went out and we drove through and we all saw a hand-to-hand transaction.
oh, really? You pointed out to him, like, hey, kids, look.
We were in my mother's Subaru, so it goes Outback, right? So I call it the Horgan 5. So we're driving, and sure enough, I saw people walking through like an alley, and it's always like it's first thing you get a little suspicion.
Yeah.
But I stopped a little bit, and and we watched them, and sure enough, they walked, and then a guy come up around the corner, and you can see. You always got to look at the hands, never look at their faces, because drugs are with your hands. And sure enough, boop, 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 and then the other people would turn around and walk the other way. And my 16-year-old, I don't think he must. So he was 15 last year. He just was loving it because he was like, I'm calling it out to him, and he watches a lot of the YouTube shows, like even like Donut Operator, like even some of his stuff. So he's all, and so now him seeing it, like me calling it out, he's like, oh my God. And I was like, oh yeah, if I was working, oh yeah, this is a point now where you would just gun it, right?
Yeah,
throw everybody on the ground, right? And stuff. Yeah.
Man,
pills of heroin go flying all over the place.
Yeah, I bet your son was loving that, huh? That's most young boys' dreams, like cop, firefighter, any of that stuff. It gets them excited. Yeah. So what made you want to become a detective, though? So you were obviously
did patrol
and SWAT, right?
Yeah, I did patrol for 2 years. Yeah. And patrol is just that, though. Like I said, I use the term slave to the radio. You have to answer calls, and so I mean, you're sitting there, and so a lot of people do like patrol. I was, again, that I think what's inside me with the military and everything else too, and then business and stuff, there was just something inside, and I was like, all right, so 2 years was the minimum time you had to do 2 years in patrol before you could get into a specialized unit.
Okay, sure.
2 years. Yeah. And I, even as a patrol kid, I think I had like 4 search warrants under my belt, which it might not sound like a lot, but if you go to other places within their first 2 years, like people probably have like 10 years on a smaller department and never written a search warrant.
Oh wow. Okay. So you were
so it gets you noticed. Yeah, so it gets you noticed. So that's where I got picked up, and I was they called it the special enforcement team. So we could wear plain clothes, but we normally had to wear a big police vest on the outside, like one of those kind of tactical ones that zips up and stuff. But
so
it says
full
police
business suit with a
like wearing tennis shoes with the business suit.
Yeah.
So, but and we were not in a marked car, but it was still a Crown Vic. Crown Vics back in the days. So again,
everyone knew.
Yeah, and at that point, you were probably either driving. You were partnered up, so either 2 of you or almost even 4 of you. And even if you say it was 2 white guys, 2 black guys, and stuff, like still you're in the Crown Vic and you're all wearing those vests.
Yeah, it's very noticeable.
Yeah, super noticeable. You can't really creep up on people, but that was one of the things again that just Baltimore with the stories I can go is like. So we got into vacant houses. And again, if you haven't ever like seen Baltimore, like I would really say like Google like Baltimore City and then zoom into a street, and these houses are brick townhouses and they're boarded up.
Yeah.
And so we would creep through alleys and you would break into them. I mean, we had the drill, and we would drill through the wood so you couldn't be heard, and you'd be looking through the little peepholes or. Yeah, and then you had unmarked cars where it had like limo tint.
Okay.
And you would just look for these like, heroin houses and what were you looking for?
Yeah, open air drug markets. So Baltimore back in the day, you would go on the corner and they literally were selling drugs on the corner. But it would be a system. Yeah, so here we go. I'll educate this. It's really cool.
So you break in and then watch.
And watch
what was going on.
But it's almost like fishing. So right there at that point when we would do that, now I'm like, okay, I'm going to fish here in this section because it's watching... Like, hopefully you got into a good one. You could see some areas, right?
Okay.
Some I would actually, there was an old age home that I would get on, and I would be like 6 stories up, but have binos and now looking straight down, and I'd run around the roof. That's actually one of the biggest ones I got personally. It was like 2,000 pills of heroin because the guy kept going in and out of his house, like through the back and blah, blah, blah. I came down and got him. Yeah, so the Anchorage, I'm going to mess up the word. Anyway, what's the word I'm using for? The level of detail that goes into selling drugs isn't just like you got 25 pills of heroin on you in your pocket. Sometimes it would be. And then you sell to him. But they would have, you would put your pills of heroin in this Black Rifle cup, right? And then you would go hide it like just on the corner, or it's on the table. We'll say it's right on the table. So there's all your pills of heroin. All right. We'll say Christian's the junkie, right?
Naturally.
You're going to be the guy who's going to get it, but then like say I'm the money man. So he's going to come over to me. He's going to give me the money. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to look at you and go like, and then you're going to go over to your stash, and then you're going to grab out 2, and then you'd probably hand it to them. But sometimes you might even hand it to somebody else, and then they would hand it to him. And then I'd have another person, which was usually a juvenile, sitting on the steps just acting as the lookout.
Yeah.
Because as soon as a cop came up, right, the whole 5-0 or whistling and stuff like that would get yelled. So in that whole thing that I would see, you all got charged with conspiracy to distribute.
Yeah, I was going to say, because breaking up the system doesn't remove you from
Nope.
any one part of the process.
The
It creates
kid
a
or the guy
conspiracy.
sitting on the step being a lookout is just
Yeah.
as guilty as the guy going to that.
you
So
know,
I am with the money guy.
It
It's
does.
interesting.
You just have to watch, and it
Yep.
protects them from their customer. I
Sure.
think,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Is that it's
Well, and it's not even that though. It's they think if that's not on them, that when you come rolling up, because if they were really good,
Mhm.
you'd come screeching up, and no one would. And actually, sometimes you'd have a runner
Oh, okay.
where someone would just be there, and as soon as we came up, they would run
and they'd have
'Cause-
nothing on them.
because rookies would. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly right.
Everyone else would just stand there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why
But
we
we
should
come
have a
rolling up, you're
multi-
like, it's not on me, dude. Whatever.
Multi-directional taser.
Yeah.
That would be dope.
But yeah, you'd roll up and they'd be like, whatever. And that's like, you're great. And you just put handcuffs on everybody, which makes it very non-confrontational. That's
Sure.
great. And then I walk over and I pull it out. But then, of course, you're like, that ain't mine. Did I say it was?
Yeah,
Like,
is
let's
it
just-
is it all just a rinse and repeat? Does it just
Yeah.
feel so the
Mhm.
same? I'm innocent. It's not me. I was holding it for somebody. Like
Oh, yeah.
what's
Yep.
throw some others out there that you just constantly hear.
Yeah. Oh, these aren't my jeans.
Yes.
That was a good one.
Oh,
These aren't my
nice.
jeans.
My friend's jeans.
Nice.
Yep, these aren't my jeans. These aren't my jeans.
I like that.
Yeah, these aren't my jeans.
I too wear Christian's jeans
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
of the time.
Yeah.
These aren't my jeans.
I have my leg altered on my jeans
That
too.
was-
Ah,
Yeah.
damn it. That's right. I couldn't fit in your jeans. I don't have a leg. My ass does not look
Right.
good in those.
No. Yeah, these aren't my jeans is a good one.
I still have both cheeks, though, in
Yeah.
case anyone was wondering.
Both cheeks. Yeah.
Both cheeks.
Ample.
How'd we
I'm
get
trying
here?
to think if
How'd we
I've
get
ever
here?
locked up an amputee.
Do you ever
How-
have anyone go the opposite direction of saying these aren't my jeans? Like they just come out and they spill the beans big time.
Yeah.
No one ever. Everyone was innocent.
Yeah.
Everyone is innocent. They, yeah,
Yeah.
The standard.
yeah,
Yeah.
everyone is innocent.
Yeah. I could
They-
imagine that gets super. Oh, yeah, sure, buddy.
Yeah, we. I was one of my last one. It was ended up being a weed house, which I think weed's legal now in Baltimore. So I feel bad for all the weed guys I put away in jail. But we hit it. And I was breaking a pipe because he flushed it, so we had to break the pipe to get the little baggies out.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
he was like, "This is my grandmother's house." I was like, "Your grandmother's got the shit next door."
Yeah, that's good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, always down. So if it goes down the toilet, it's an easy one. You just fish it out.
Yeah, yeah. You just
And,
fish it up.
you know,
just
there's-
take the ram.
people
the
put it
ram
in-
for the door.
In wall sockets and like
Oh, I've seen it. I've seen it in buttholes.
nice. That's a common one though.
yeah.
I mean, who
Yeah.
doesn't store things?
One
with
of
it?
I'll tell you, this is a good one. This people love this one. This is a good one. So the 380 incident.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was back on the street, but I was probably a little jumpy. And I was coming into work. I would actually lock people up coming into work.
Before
because-
you're on shift.
Yeah, because you don't clock in. So I'm as long as I'm in Baltimore at that point, I'm working.
Okay. Sure.
I'm
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had a Ford Explorer, so that obviously wasn't one of it wasn't a common one they would see. So it was a normal car, so it didn't raise any suspicion.
Yeah.
And I'm just by myself,
Okay.
Mm.
which again, when we did the drug stuff, we would be paired up. Anyway, coming into work, which I didn't ever got in trouble. My sergeant too would be like, "Can you stop locking people up on your own when you're coming to work?" But coming into work, guys flagging me down. I'm like, "Sure, let's get him. Let's see what this dude is." So he gets in the car, and he's like, "Hey, what do you want?" And I told him some heroin, and he reaches down, right? And so that's your dip, right? For those on the street, we call this your dip.
Yeah.
So he would reach down towards his dip, and I was jumpy, and at that point, I wasn't even waiting. So I was like, "Place," right? Pull my gun, and he's like, "Oh, I don't got anything. And I, get him out of the car. He says like, "Hey, look," because I'm like, "Okay, well, you reach to your dip, like, I can search or like,
You just pull it out.
Let's pull it out."
Yeah.
Unzips his pants. Rubber band around his testicles was a bag of like 2 or 3 heroin pills and like 2 or 3 bottles of crack. Rubber band around them.
Is it just walking
Nice.
around like that?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Just
I'm not going to knock him for creativity, but
I don't know. Did that hurt? Did it feel good? Like, I'm not the fetish. I don't know
Probably, yeah.
what.
Bro, you got pockets too.
Right.
Like,
Well, no. So, but
well,
patrol kids, and I keep saying patrol kids, right?
Yeah.
And, well,
yeah. Younger
Patrol-
guys, yeah.
not necessarily can't, but won't. It's like
Sure.
patting someone down. Like you watch a movie.
but it was probably behind it too. So even if you did the front,
Yeah.
check. You're still
Or say I would have tapped it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe just thought it was his balls.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I
it's
was
a
trying
good
to be
deterrent.
nice. It said testicles. Now it's the same balls. But
Yeah,
yeah.
that's fine.
But yeah. Rubber band around them. That was that was a good
Did
one.
you handcuff him before or after?
He was handcuffed. No, he was handcuffed after. But I do remember telling him, I'm like, now
I just wanted to see if
well,
you
no,
touched
the
his
gun's
balls.
out.
Yeah.
So again, this is, and I'm by myself too, right? So the gun's
Yeah.
out, and you're
Yeah.
like, okay, go ahead and reach where you're telling me it is, right?
Yeah.
You're like, because if you like, if it was a gun, like,
Yeah.
like I'm gonna get the drop on you for
Yeah.
sure. So let's go ahead and play this game, right? And
Yeah,
It's creative solutions.
that is a crazy one.
creative
So
solutions.
did you deal probably not, but much with the prison systems itself?
Baltimore City has one central jail that's downtown.
Yeah.
No, I dealing with it only going in.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And I would tell you, that's why, I would really never commit a crime. I tell my kids, like, jail is, I don't know if you guys have ever been to jail?
never
No?
been to jail.
I've been on ride-alongs in through the jails.
Oh, okay,
but
great. That's good.
never
but never
never
like,
been to jail
Yeah.
charged
Yeah.
wise.
Not
That's
as
right.
Jails are horrible. And especially Baltimore City jail. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
horrible.
Well, I
man.
mean, yeah, they're all
Horrible.
horrible.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and so
Just-
you were, again, hypothetically, you put your gun and your ammo up when
Mhm.
you had to go in.
Yeah.
I would hypothetically keep like a knife on me.
Mm.
Like, because when you go in, other inmates are walking around doing chores like sweeping and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that could nearly have been someone that you maybe arrested, a week ago
Yeah.
or something. And I
Swing a
don't want-
broom at you or something. Yeah.
or put it somewhere where the sun doesn't shine, dude. Like, and I
Yeah.
don't want to get in that battle right there. Like, those guards in that jail, they're not armed. And,
Yeah.
I was just like, this is no. I
Yeah,
hated
it's
every second I had to go, every time I had to go.
Yeah. It does not sound
Yeah,
good.
and
No.
the reason why I bring that up too is
Okay.
because there is some huge creativity in the prison
Oh,
systems
yeah.
as well. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
from making alcohol to
Well, prison guards, we had female prison guards getting pregnant. BGF was a gang, Black Guerrilla Family,
Mhm.
very big gang for Baltimore and everything.
Okay.
They were getting female, guards pregnant, and you're like,
It's crazy.
okay, guys, like, yeah, like, how am I
They must
trusting
be
you again? If
charming.
something, yeah,
charming individuals.
right.
Just
Yeah.
charm the guards.
I mean, yeah. How do you get roped into something like that as a prison guard? Two of my best friends that I grew up with, they're county sheriffs in California,
Mhm.
so they've done plenty of time with the prisons, and they ran units, so,
Yeah.
so I always heard about it. And for the most part, like they were in relatively easy prisons,
Yeah.
but they would have stories every once in a while, like people getting caught doing shit that they should not have. The
Yeah.
cops.
Yeah,
Like, how do you how do you get involved?
well,
They also
What's the first
leverage.
step?
They leverage relationships.
Yeah.
They
Yep.
definitely. Some of these guys in California, I know for a fact. With the whole Bloods and the Crips
Yep.
and everything.
Yep.
But some of these beat cops like grew up on the streets.
Yeah.
oh yeah, no,
with
one of my
these affiliated gangs.
Yeah.
And so they run into each other,
yep,
Yeah.
and it's like, hey, I know your grandma, I'm gonna kill your entire family.
Yep.
If you don't
Yeah.
assist
Yep.
me, or just look the other way while I
Yeah.
do this
two of my
trade system here.
partners, yeah,
Yeah.
Ike and Tom, they grew up in the city, like on the east sides and stuff where we worked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, it's just the prisons. It's just a breeding ground for creating more of a criminal individualist mentality.
sure, yeah. Well, which is it is, because you have any criminal, like even as a cop, right? You are fighting against someone who that's their job,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to go home to your family.
Yeah.
So you're not thinking about it. So they're thinking about, again, how to defeat you 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just thinking about how to defeat them 8 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah, it's just never good. It's never good when you're lumped up into a category, and police get lumped up in that too. Military gets lumped up to it as well.
God, all the stuff that kid walked into North Korea.
yeah.
I guess you ran over the border or something.
Yeah, well, but he got locked up or something,
Yeah.
like, right, something, and then he was waiting to get transported back, and he
Yeah, so he went to
escaped
he
and-
was getting deported, back to the States
Right.
for a trial or something. I
Yeah.
don't know the details there, but while he was at the airport, he escaped onto a tour bus that went to the DMZ, and the quote that I read was that he was on the tour when they were walking on the DMZ, and everyone heard him laughing as he was running into the forest. All they heard was loud, crazy laughing as he was running, which is kind of funny to me. But
you know what? Shoot your shot, brother.
He's trying to get away, but
shoot your shot.
It's like
North Korea, say he's guilty.
North Korea would not be the place that I ran into. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's like
he might be regretting.
Like they'll kill you for not dusting your portrait of your fearless leader.
That's true.
There's a ton of other ones, I guess, in the news too, with military, like just talking about how the pedophile and all the other sexual assault stuff. But that's the thing though. Like military and police, they're still human beings. Yeah. So there's going to be bad ones. There's bad teachers. Yeah. There's bad bankers.
Everything. There's bad politicians. Did everybody know that? Did everybody know that one?
But we like
California.
to lump. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, but we like to lump
anywhere. Yeah.
The military and the police and firefighters, that whole stuff, into if the one does wrong, they all do wrong versus like any other.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I learned this lesson on my second deployment to Afghanistan. I was sitting there with, we had rounded up the families right after doing a house clear, and I broke a chem light and gave it to one of the kids. And I was like, man, this is like all they see me as is a man in a uniform that is a U.S. soldier. That's all they know. Yep. Like they don't know that I have a family as well and that I have a story. And you just like strip away the individual and you give them this title of whatever their job position is. Right. And that is so dangerous when you really think about it at the end of the day. Yep. It dehumanizes everyone.
Well, sure. And that's what I'm saying. And it takes one story, and it's just like, oh, that's how you all are.
And that's what happens when cops pull up to red lights. And they're on the way home and someone sticks an AK out and just blasts them just because they lumped them into a category.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we go down the rabbit hole and you guys definitely know better, like PTS and stuff like that, though. Like you get diagnosed with that and then someone with PTS does something bad or whatever, and now it's lumped in. Now you're all, crazy or something.
True story. Yeah. Well, and this happens all the time with shootings. Yep. There's countless shootings that no one hears about in the media. It's laser focused on what if it's small groups or black on white, whatever. It's highlighted so much, but it's just not the case. No, like it's one side of the picture, and it's never all encompassing.
It's funny. I think we learned this in elementary school that applying stereotypes are bad. And here we are. I guess I did that 25 years ago, and like the whole country is just still trying to learn that stereotyping's bad. It comes down to just there are shitty humans out there.
There's lots of shitty humans.
Yeah, that's ultimately what it is. It's an individualism thing.
Yeah,
what I bring it down to.
I made an Instagram story yesterday, and I kind of made a general comment like that. Like, man, we're all on the world together. Yeah. Like, just start being nice to each other. Like,
and then you're a hippie if someone says that. Then you're like, you fucking hippie.
Yeah, I do want a Volkswagen bus though.
Yeah,
I am not a hippie, but I do want a Volkswagen bus.
Well, a little hippie. Yeah, you might be a little hippie.
That's just being a boomer, man. Like I'll be 52 this year.
So. Oh, dude. You look terrible. Bus. So just kidding.
We'll get you a coffin for your next birthday, I guess.
Right.
But this is an interesting concept that you bring up too, and I always love talking about this. Is the difference. The biggest difference that I really see in a police officer there's lots of differences, but the ability to turn it off when you're in the military, right? Yeah. You push everything overseas, downrange, whatever it is, but yet when you're a police officer, you're in your own backyard.
Oh yeah.
Right? And it's a constant worry. So like that post-traumatic stress, for military members, we could say, hey, you're not in theater anymore. Yeah. You don't have the gun on. Turn the light off, turn that light switch off. When you're a police officer, you go home into the same neighborhood you patrolled and you're like, I hope I didn't piss that guy off.
Oh yeah. I've had that.
Because I'm barbecuing with my family right now.
Right. We didn't even talk about this beforehand, but that's one of my, I am not doing anything necessarily about it, but that's one of my huge, like even soapboxes to be on is like getting out of the military transition, right? We have, as vets, have a ton of resources, like a crazy amount. Yeah. Cops have zero. When I left Baltimore in 2010, I mean, it literally was like,
that's an interesting point.
I mean, zero.
I'm glad you brought that up.
And the shit that I saw in Baltimore, right? I mean, again, I didn't know that, but compared to my deployment, like again,
Do we know, a statistic for the number of suicides per year that we get from police officers?
No, I don't know those. And
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I've only seen one. Actually, she's a recruiter for Black Rifle, Sammy. Because she used to be a cop, so she's involved with it. I think it's God, and it should probably kill me, and I forget too. I think it's like cops to corporate, maybe. That's
Okay.
only. It's like the only like law enforcement transition helping agency I've seen ever.
Okay.
Yeah. Nonprofits. There are nonprofits out there that
Yeah.
do kind of bridge the gap on
Right.
some, but as far as, self-government funded
Yeah.
programs,
Federal or state funded.
Right.
yeah, that is
No, zero.
a problem.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I'm at a 30% rating, right, and still appealing for my PTS.
Okay.
It's definitely right, service related.
Yeah.
But I would tell you, Baltimore. I mean, if cops had that, they're 100%.
All the time.
Yeah. I mean, so I shot my rifle and blew people up, right? For not as a cop, but as right.
Yeah. In the military.
As a
yeah.
JTAC.
Not as a cop or in the military.
Yeah. No, as a JTAC.
Wait,
It's a hobby.
But you're talking about now, I'm, with the 380 incident, like I didn't
Yeah.
shoot that guy, which on his confession or like his little thank you, like he actually thanked me. He's like, thank the detective for not killing me, which I still have a copy of. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was like, from me to the door, which is, it's what is that? 5 feet, 6 feet away. Like that's how close he was,
Mhm.
but he ended up dropping it. So I didn't pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Right. But I could have.
Sure.
Like I would have ended that dude that close. Right. Everyone that I, with war was 300 meters away.
Yeah. It's distance.
For me, right?
You can't tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most guys had, some guys had other, right, cooler stuff, but everyone I was usually was about 300 meters away from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're dissociated
Yeah.
from it.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
yeah.
But for Baltimore, I mean, even like coming up and like being on the trigger, like almost shoot that guy like that story stays with me just as much as a 60 round landing 15 feet from me. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
and the commonality between any kind of gun confrontation is about 7 meters.
Right. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
to think about that,
Right.
like 7 meters away
20
is
feet. Yeah.
Yeah.
like everything within that. It's like they say something like 98% is within 7 meters.
Yeah, it's nuts. Well, and it's the SWAT. So I left SWAT, but all my friends ended up staying, and they had an incident. It was like a grandfather holding a granddaughter. I think, like, kind of. I don't like the word hostage, but just holding her with a machete, wouldn't let her go.
No.
She drops the machete. Great, lets the girl go, but then bends down for it. My buddy, like they had to boop,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like,
Of
that's
course.
like right there, right? I mean, how does
Yeah.
that stay? Like, but when that guy retires, do you think he's getting a VA? No, because there is no VA, right?
Yeah,
But
there's
the
no-
Yeah.
city or the
I
state's
mean,
not,
And that's what people don't
Yeah.
understand is the stakes are so high.
Oh,
right.
right?
Your whole life's on the line, and anyone who's handled a weapon in a professional setting knows that it is milliseconds that count.
Right.
Like
Yep.
everybody's like in the movies, oh, they took so long to draw. I
Had
would
a
sit there."
conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
I had a police officer, a buddy of mine. I met him at the gym, and he used to be a police officer in Austin. And he's like, I no longer work there. I had some stuff happen, and after a while, I got him to open up
Yeah.
about it. And he said he was at a routine traffic stop. Guy got out of his car, which is weird,
Sure.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Should
Right.
stay in your vehicle.
Right.
He
Yep.
didn't do that, and he went into his car to reach for his wallet and came out like this, and he pulled his gun and shot
Oh,
immediately. Shot
Right.
above his head, didn't hit him at all. But I got to talking to him. I'm like, it sounds so negligent.
Yeah.
But truly understanding the fear behind that.
Well, and everyone's not trained.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're trained to a level, right? And I don't know this guy, but
It's a rookie move.
right?
I get
well,
it.
when we talk about and so Donut Cody, right? So he reviews some of these, and I look at them too every time I see something. But like being SWAT trained, being a Ranger, being a TACP, being an Navy SEAL, like you've shot so much in your instincts, but there's only so many of you.
Yeah.
You're looking again, like, so we'll go back to Baltimore, like 2,000, 3,000 cops.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just like
For a city
it's
of
even
a
like in
million
like
people.
the army, like it's like this is your I'm not making fun of my 11 Bravos, but like okay, I'm just an 11 Bravo, and I've been in there 6 months.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like your reaction time with just everything, and because he again thought the reaching in and someone blades right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would say, hey, you're just a shitty shot because he should have hit the dude.
You should have hit him for sure.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But lucky he didn't.
Lucky he didn't, but I'm sure he still got whatever. Like
you didn't.
yeah, whatever. Yeah,
I would never. If I was that guy with a wallet, though, I would have never done that again.
I've
in
had
my
someone
life.
with a phone again.
Yeah.
So
I just
Bladed had
gotta
a
make
phone.
a call real quick.
Yeah.
Gotta make a call real quick.
Yeah, boy, I
Keep my
came
wallet here.
around.
Keep my wallet in my waistband.
I can't even tell you how many foot chases, again in Baltimore, I've been in, and people have had the gun in their hand,
and you're chasing after him.
and I'm chasing after them.
Yeah.
Now you sit there and we could debate, but what would have happened is if I would have shot them in the back, by definition I could have, because I don't have to wait for the gun to be pointed at me to defend myself
Yeah.
at any point. If he has it,
And
right?
that was controversial though for a long time.
It was, but that's where I would have shot any of those guys. I would have probably kicked off the firestorm earlier
Yeah.
to the sense of, because what they would say is, well, then just stop chasing them.
Yeah.
Right. That's your, and you can say yes, because then they're all our laws where it's like, is he a felon or anything like that? And if I don't know,
Yeah.
right, then I
Yeah.
don't know. And
It's
so,
just-
but I would tell you, on one of those, we get the guy,
Mhm.
get the gun. Yeah. He was a homicide suspect, and that was the murder weapon.
Yeah.
Now, did we know that? No.
No, you don't know that at the time.
But
yeah.
but the goodness that came from that arrest, yeah. And we had dozens of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and they go, it goes both sides. You have
Yeah.
bad ones, you have good ones.
Yeah.
But ultimately the decisions and the punishment is coming from those that have never fired a weapon themselves.
Yeah.
And they don't understand what combat is.
That's one of the best ones I see is when they take groups. Have you seen those? They
Yeah.
take groups and they put them in the shoot, no
Recreate 'em.
shoot scenarios, and they end up shooting, and then the light bulb goes on, and you're like, bing! Like,
Yeah.
oh my god! Like,
Yeah, I saw a newscaster. They put a newscaster through some police scenarios that had actually happened. So they're real
Sure.
scenarios that actually happened.
Mhm.
Where,
right.
you're at a convenience store outside. Someone's working on their car. You approach them. Hey, what's going on with your car? And they pull a gun immediately and just start firing.
Right.
Like that's a real scenario.
yeah.
They put them through that. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you died. And the next scenario, oh, you shot an innocent person for no reason.
Yeah.
Like, why did you do that? Like, well, I
Yeah.
thought he was reaching for something.
Yeah.
Like,
What do you always say? Dynamic.
yeah, dynamic reaction to a dynamic environment.
Yeah,
like, you
that's
got to
it.
be on
It
your
is.
feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And for a cop, it's every day.
Yeah.
Like most of us, like
Every
we went on
minute.
missions, right? Like
Yeah.
again, if I went on that patrol, we did a whole outboard,
Yeah.
right? And you all went out. And like it rarely was, you're not just leaving the wire and going out.
Yeah.
You're talking about like, I'm leaving my house. Hypothetically, I was supposed to have my vest on. I probably didn't wear my vest easy like 75% of the time.
Nice. It's like
Um,
not wearing a seatbelt and going 80.
Yeah. But when you're doing drug work, though, you can't walk around. You're like, oh, look at that. I mean, it's bad enough, right? I look
Yeah.
like this, like trying to, again, you're infiltrating in, being undercover. And you're like,
Yeah, this was all.
that's
also
a vest under that t-shirt.
yeah, this is the
Yeah,
early
for sure.
'60s, Dave. They didn't have low profile
No.
vests.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
Yeah,
right.
big
The
old
early
bulky
yeah.
60s.
things.
like
That's
early
right.
'60s,
I
late
wore it
'70s.
once.
Grew out
yeah.
the beard. He looks like Santa Claus.
Yeah. I wore it once actually on a buy. This lady was taking me. And if she would have touched my back, like it would have been over. She
Yeah.
would have known. But luckily she didn't end up touching my back. And
Fell in love.
no, so she bought. That's another fun story. She buys it, right, and we're walking back, and I'm calling my partners. I'm like, "Hey, I'm bringing someone back to the place," and I look over her. I say, hey, "My roommate's kind of a little bit racy, like so. I'm just letting them know you're coming with me."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, we're walking down whatever the streets were, right?" So they knew, and then they pull up in the car. She takes off, but then I take off too. I let them handcuff me. They put us both in the back seat. She had the pills she bought like in her bra, and she's like, "Oh, we'll never find it." Well, we get back to the station, and then we get back to our little office, and then they unhandcuff me.
You betrayed her.
motherfucker! Oh, she hated me so bad, dude.
I bet, which is funny because it's like, yeah,
It's kind of funny.
the 10, 15 minutes that I took to get to know you does not constitute as me.
A friendship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
A friendship to give up my whole life for
Oh,
that I've been
I go-
building to this.
I go in that story.
People are so betrayed though.
Yeah,
huh?
I had that story. I had a confidential informant, Amber, white girl, but she had a star tattoo and rainbow on her face. Oh man,
Nice.
And
Classy.
yeah, she'd be calling me even like days off, like, "Oh, this guy's selling, doing this, doing that," and my partners were like, "Are you gonna marry her? Like, what are you doing?" Like, and Bethany, my wife, she's like, "Please tell your CI to stop calling," and I was like, all right, and
She's giving me
but
info.
I would fight with her. I called her a
Yeah.
crack whore once in an argument, and she said she wasn't. And I said, "You've been arrested for crack and prostitution, i.e.,
That's the
it's a crack
definition.
whore."
Okay, good. I'm glad we clarified that.
That was her confidential informant name. She was good. She was funny.
Well, Hopefully she's a whore no more.
Yeah, I don't know. I left you like again. It's like leaving Afghanistan. I left in 2010. And I was like, all right.
She'd be looking like My Little Pony with the
rainbow.
star and the
There's
rainbow.
a star.
My goodness.
Like a star, and then a
My
rainbow
Little
went
Pony.
there. Yeah. Hopefully she's out of the game and no one watches this, and then they're like,
Maybe she
that
will.
girl's
Yeah.
Her and Brown are going to come attack you after that. Brian Brown.
yeah.
Say the name again.
Brian Brown. Brian would love me. Brian would. I'd have Brian over for a drink now that I'm not a cop. I'm like, Ryan, let's not drive.
Yeah.
I'm not letting you
Yeah.
drive.
Nowhere
I'll
near a vehicle.
Call you an Uber.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I do use. Well, it's I never met anyone in Afghanistan, like, so I don't know, but I know other people had like interpreters and all those things
Sure.
that they were close to. But my time in Baltimore, like I do, like I think like not even telling this story, like I've thought about Brian, like what's that guy doing now?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What is Amber doing now?
I
Like,
mean,
what is
the
she doing
odds
now?
are probably not very good.
They are not. They
Yeah.
are. They are not.
Not to crush
you
your
know?
dreams
Yeah.
or anything, but she's probably still.
I mean, he could be dead, right? They both could be dead. Sure.
Let's hope. Let's
Yeah.
hope that Brian has won the lotto.
Yeah.
Just
living in Bel Air.
yes, drinking classy seltzers as opposed
Right.
to Miller Lights now.
Yeah. No, that would have been
Might have turned his life around. You
Colt
know?
45. Colt 45, I think, is big.
Ugh.
St. Ides. There's one called St. Ides. Heard of that?
Mad Dog.
That's
Anyway.
crazy. That is interesting stuff. But I for sure think that the training is the biggest thing that the police force needs.
Oh,
is,
yeah.
is better range time, better instructors. How often do patrol officers go out and qualify?
Yeah, I think it's once. Yeah, I think
Once a year.
Yeah, yeah. And it's usually during in-service, right? So you have to get 40 hours. You kind of re-up your knowledge in a sense. So you do 40 hours of in-service training. Yeah.
How much first aid training does police
Oh, so
officers
you're
take?
talking about? So again, back in the day, 0.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And still to this day it's lacking. Do we
Yeah.
have a class every
Well,
3 years
yeah.
for
Well, so I was
dressing
class-
gunshots?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I was class leader for my police academy class,
Mhm.
and it was because again, I had my military background.
Yeah.
I had like 2 other guys in there. Actually, I had 3. Wayne's actually, it's a whole other story. So Wayne's in federal prison, but Wayne was in my academy class. Wayne was a Marine, and I had like two pilots. They were doing the helicopter, but I think they were Navy guys.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Yeah. Seahawk.
But they made me the class leader.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
I think jujitsu would be an important thing to implement as well.
Absolutely.
Like,
You do. I don't like touching other men, dude. Like, and not that it's homophobic, like by any means. I'm not a wrestler. Like, so my good friend in North Dakota when I was stationed there wrestled for Purdue, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day, and he'd always want to wrestle, and I was like, I'm the ADHD hyper, so I'm an only child kid. If I'm losing and we're only playing, like I'm gonna eye gouge you, right? Or I'm gonna like break your finger.
Krav Maga.
Yeah.
Krav Maga then.
Like I don't do like the 50 or 75%, and I just go I spaz, like I'm the spaz.
well,
would
the reason
be-
I say
yeah.
jujitsu is, for handcuffing people or taking them down. Like if you're a competent jujitsu,
Yeah. Well, there's pressure,
enthusiast,
not your pressure points, but just how
like,
you
just
maneuver. Yeah.
manipulate the body.
Kung Fu.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I think.
Manipulate the
Honestly,
body a
that
little
would
bit.
be the best show of force without getting into an altercation if I've ever seen one.
Junkies are heavy though. I've told this story. I did a Vets React with Richard Ryan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And junkies are heavy. You would think like a zombie, right? You remember zombies following people,
Yeah.
and you're like, they're rotting flesh.
Yeah.
Why can't they just kick this
Yeah.
skeleton off of them?
Yeah.
'Cause
Junkies are
they're
the same
just
way.
all in.
They're super dense.
Yeah.
So my partner Adam, he's like a captain now.
Well, when you got nothing to lose, it's really hard to beat somebody.
yeah, but I'd yell for Adam, get him off me. But it was like a zombie movie. Get him off me!
Help!
I didn't.
They're making the teeth noise.
Yeah. Oh, they're
Yeah.
chomping at you.
Oh,
It
God.
is.
Can
Get
we-
him off me!
Can we finish with the federal prison story? Are you allowed to tell us
Oh,
federal
wait. Yeah.
prison
I mean,
stuff?
I wasn't involved. It's short. I mean, it's in the news. Actually, if you have HBO or HBO Max, we own the city.
It's
Nope.
just Max now, by the way.
Just Max now.
Yeah. For our sponsor. I'm
They
just kidding.
made a
For our
show.
sponsor.
They made a show. It's called, I believe
We
it's
Own the
called
City.
We Own the City or We Own This City.
We
Okay.
own this city.
Yeah. So the guy who
Sounds
played
familiar.
the Punisher. in the
Oh,
Punisher
yeah.
movies,
He's great.
John Bernthal.
Yeah, plays Wayne.
Oh no shit. Okay.
Wayne is in. Again, don't quote me, but he's in. He got convicted,
Mhm.
but the whole team did. But they're in federal prison for like 20, 25 years. Yeah, they were. So I was in actually Afghanistan. I did some contract work, ISR stuff.
Mhm.
a while back too, before right when I retired and was doing stuff. Anyway, was over at the Chow Hall reading Stars and Stripes, and it was Wayne Jenkins, Danny Herschel, being charged, and it said they're charging documents read like a 30s gangster movie. They were doing and so I'm only stating what I read and even what the show does. Supposedly, I mean, I guess I could say allegedly, but they did get convicted, so they're convicted. They're in federal prison. Robbing drug dealers, right? They were robbing the drug dealers and then taking it back to the county and selling it. Like doing all kinds of like training day gangster, like just
like legit police organized crime.
It's
wild.
And then the whole team, they were all doing it. And again, if you watch it, and they all got caught, and they're sitting in federal prison. But Wayne, Wayne was in my academy class, and then I worked in the same division and knew Wayne.
Okay.
I mean, I've hung out with Wayne. I mean, I'll just leave it at that. And then the other guy that's on there, Danny Herschel, was another one. And I'd worked with Danny. I didn't know Danny as well as Wayne, but Danny was on there too, and he's sitting in federal prison as well.
Organized crime, just so they would, as police officers, go rob these guys and then turn around and go sell it.
No, they would arrest them. And so if I got you with a 50 pack of pills, I probably could submit 25 and still take the other 25.
So they would in fact arrest them though. Okay. So they would bust them and take their stash.
Yeah, and then again from
that just sounds like you're open, and that's probably how they were busted, right?
Yeah. So
how much stuff did you have? I had 50 pills.
One of the criminals
only 25 in
came clean. He's like, I had 1,000 in here. Why do you only have 50?
So they hit, supposedly, again from the show and what I read stuff. They hit a house.
Okay.
And I think it had like $200,000.
All right.
So it was a very training day, and they only submitted like $100,000. The guy's like, when he gets his
I might have seen this. What year was this that came out?
2 years, maybe 2 years ago.
I think I saw this one.
Oh, did you?
Did they put it in the? Is that the one with Dwayne Johnson in it too?
No.
Oh, they like put it in the pipe. They put the money in the pipe. The shitter. Anyway,
what's the one with there is one. There's one. Schwarzenegger does one where he's like a DEA agent or something like that.
Yeah,
and
that's garbage.
Yeah,
that was trash.
No, they were doing crap like that. Yeah,
that's
but
nuts.
eventually, again, the feds, right? So feds got you get a whiff, and you got a bad cop. And so they were on it was called the Gun Trace Task Force. So that was elevated kind of guys, but they were doing stuff too. Again, like overtime fraud. Like Wayne, again, allegedly, but again, I think was convicted. Was like in Jamaica, yet had like hours of overtime.
Wow.
So hours.
So it's one thing to screw over the criminals. It's a different to screw over your own department. So
100%. Well, and again, the name it makes for yourself. So like and again, most you could do something wrong here or there, but like it's at what level, right?
Yeah.
Or it's bending the rules, not breaking them.
Yeah,
or
like to a federal level, man, too.
Yeah.
The intent behind it, too, right?
Tell me you take $20 off of, like you arrested a dude and once you took $20. I'm going to be like, all right, man, like that's a little bit of a judgment. Like you shouldn't have, like it's $20. But you're talking about, like some serious
crimes.
Yeah, look, even like planting weapons. So again, watching the show and stuff like.
Planting them, if I see $1 million there, I just did a drug bust. It's 100,000.
No, so I guess they had it was like a car crash. They had a car crash because Wayne was chasing it.
Okay.
And then he said there was a gun, blah blah blah, or something, and there wasn't. And then someone else brought the gun, and they put the gun.
Yeah.
Shit. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Man.
Which
way bad stuff.
Just
like,
total Wild West. Yeah.
Something again. You take $20 from somebody. Yes, that's wrong. Like, and I'm going to question your judgment and maybe watch you a little bit. But that's. Yeah, we're talking about planting a gun. Like someone dies in a car crash and you're planting a gun to cover. Like you're like,
oof.
All right, bro. And then
that's
hundreds of thousands of dollars being stolen and reselling drugs that you're arresting people for. You're like, all right, man. Like it's way far off the reservation.
Yeah. That's a bad one.
Yeah, it is a bunch of bad stuff. And he just but in the same token though, again, we all live in this world. Wayne just got married and had a kid right like before this happened. So, here he is, right? He's in federal prison and maybe his daughter, I can't remember if it was a daughter or son.
It's just like,
God, man, like that kid. Because now I'm thinking more about the kid, right? Same thing with like Brad. So when Brad died, Chloe was months old or something like that. And now she's, I think, teenager, 2010. Yeah, she's 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? I mean,
Yeah.
So here she is growing up,
Well, at least, yeah, she's growing up knowing her dad was a hero, and this
True
other,
story.
first is Wayne.
this other
Yes.
kid's got to grow up knowing like
Your father's a criminal.
They made a Max series show.
Oh, do you want to get to know your dad? Go
Yeah.
watch HBO. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, that's a hard one too.
Yeah, that's a hard one. Especially like it does not matter like what he did in the past. Like all his accreditation.
Yeah, he was a Marine. He was
it means
nothing
Marine.
now. Yep.
It
Yeah.
means nothing now
Yep.
because of this one blemish on your.
That's a pretty big blemish.
I mean, that's
Well, it's
that's
just even
like
what
missing
do
a
you do?
whole
Like,
head.
will
Yeah.
he be alive? Like, I don't know his time. Like, I don't even know the time. Like, will he be alive when he gets out of jail? Like, we were all the same age, and
Who
so like,
knows?
again, in his
Well,
50s,
I mean, honestly, like that's pretty bad.
yeah,
It's pretty bad, and
Yep.
we want all of our drug dealers off the streets. So
Yeah.
unless it's unless it's the good kind.
but that was the Wayne story. So when I
Yeah,
mentioned
so-
it, yeah, so that was
So
that was
we
Wayne.
get
Yeah.
out. Yeah, I'm just kidding. No, that's amazing. Well, awesome for sharing, dude. Thank you for opening it up and coming on the show and having some laughs with us. That's
Yeah.
great. It's
Hopefully
great.
it was educational. Someone got. I mean, we didn't even
Yeah,
get
I
into
think so.
LinkedIn or military
or the
transition,
business,
but
or we got
Yeah.
a lot of other stuff. But I mean, we'll have you back on the show whenever you want, brother.
live
Um,
right down the street, kind of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, and
Yep.
this episode's a little bit different than normal, but it's nice to have these lighthearted ones.
I did watch, and I apologize, I don't remember her name. You had your first
Tracy Otto?
civilian. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was a heavy
Oh.
story, so we'll
Right,
break it up with some
right,
more
yeah.
I
lighthearted.
know that was a tough one.
Yeah.
that was a
Yeah.
tough one.
Yeah. I showed my wife actually. Like
Did
I
you?
was like, she was like, "What are you watching?" And I was like,
The heaviest thing
Yeah,
I've ever seen.
"God." She
Yeah,
was like,
and that was part one, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
definitely watch part two
Okay.
that's coming out.
"Yeah, yeah."
It's more uplifting. It's on the upward trajectory from the first
And it
episode.
is.
Yeah.
It's got a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah, a lot
yeah,
of
that
good
was a rough
stuff.
one even for us. I think we had to take a break.
Yeah.
Yeah, big
But
time.
but yeah, we'd love to have you on again, man. I think that's what Christian and I have been talking about too. Is the direction of this show. We want to just have candid conversations that inform and educate people, especially as we're transitioning out of the phase. Like combat is not happening the way it used to
Right,
anymore.
Yeah.
So we need to find a way to adapt to showcase to people what they're going to be getting into in the future.
Yeah.
And what some of the trials and tribulations we've all shared so that we could use those experiences to educate others to not make the same mistakes we all did.
Oh yeah, because you could everything that I've gone through, and you same with you guys. Like bringing that into a civilian workplace is not like I can't
Yeah.
have those conversations, and
Yeah.
probably most of the people now that I work with at my current job don't.
They don't understand.
Well, they wouldn't. Yeah, they would be staring at me just. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. What is
And
wrong
scared.
with you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You can't go around telling people, I used to drop bombs and shoot people.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier there. I was
Right.
even like, oh, I'm threatened.
Shit. Well, thanks a lot, Dan. We really
yeah,
appreciate you coming
my-
on, man. Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where
appreciate
can we find you? Where can the audience find you?
Nowhere.
LinkedIn.
No. I'm here in San Antonio. So if there's people in San Antonio and they want to do any military stuff real quick, I would hit up. There's a thing called like Mill City LinkedIn. So we do like monthly meetups at random places, and so that's super
Oh,
cool.
that's
So
awesome.
Fantastic.
so the San Antonio area, that's really cool.
Oh, yeah.
What's that called again?
So Mill City, LinkedIn Mill City, but we also use like hashtag Mill City Meetup.
Okay.
Mhm. Okay.
Their names are Ray and Sam Domingo.
Mhm.
Ray was an Air Force recruiter, and then Sam's his wife.
Okay.
And so she was a mill spouse, and she's done recruiting. They, with two other guys, Quincy and Chuck, started this little team. And man,
Nice.
well, like actually there was one last night, then they're doing something different, but it's like an Alamo beer
Okay.
downtown.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, you'll have like 100, 200 people.
That's a lot of people. Yeah.
Some people are still even in. Some, people just
Amazing.
got out. Yeah, it's
Nice.
pretty fun, and it's one of those transition things where everyone's like either again a veteran or a mill spouse or even still in. And actually, the first sergeant out of the TACP schoolhouse is I think about getting out, or he's thinking about it. He was at one just last month, and I got to
nice.
meet him randomly because they were like, "Hey, you were a TACP. This is the first sergeant for the TACP schoolhouse." And I was
Nice.
like, "Oh, hey."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is that Aaron? Is that Aaron?
I wish that's funny. I met him
Yeah.
and we talked. I don't remember.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Anyway,
Mill City
I'm on
Meetup, yeah.
Instagram. Yeah, Instagram is Dan Horgan. It's
Dan
me,
Horgan.
old dude. I'm actually funny though.
Sexy
There's a
old
picture
guy.
of me with I took a blue bonnet photo this year, so I'm in a field of blue bonnets.
That
Nice.
like you're in a field of
Blue
blue bonnet.
bonnets,
You didn't
yeah.
pick it, right? Because that's illegal.
No, I didn't pick it.
Gonna turn you in.
And LinkedIn, same thing. Dan Horgan, and it's me. It's my old face, but I'm actually in a tie.
Yeah.
Nice.
LinkedIn, you gotta have the tie.
Well, awesome, brother. Thanks
Yeah.
so much for coming on and
Yeah,
and
David,
sharing your
thanks.
story. We appreciate you.
Yep, anytime, guys.